Television Network. My name is Emmanuel Michael. Glad to be back here this evening to take you through the happenings in the world of sport. The big story that is just popping up is that Manchester United, Ruben Amorim, has been sacked by the board. What is next for Manchester United? We'll go through that as well and let you know. But tonight, the big one is that Super Eagles will be in action against Mozambique at the ongoing African Cup of Nations. And Manchester City dropped a 2-point last night in the English Premier League, as are now 6-point adrift of the league leaders. Talking about Arsenal. How will this affect their chances of the English Premier League title? We'll do well to go through that as well when we are back from this short break. I'll do well to introduce my guests, and of course we'll get to roll on the show this evening. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be back in a jiffy. All right, welcome back from this that short break. Rather, I'm not here alone this evening because Kingsley Palebo makes a return in the building. Together, we'll be doing justice to some of these trending gist popping up from the world of sport. Palebo, good evening and welcome to Sport Extra.
Yeah, good evening, I'm Michael. I'm so happy to be here, especially, with all the interesting stories, around the world of football in this coming week. The likes of Ruben Amorim, losing his job, and also, the exciting news coming in from the AFCON. I mean, it's such a wonderful time, to be on Sport Extraordinary today.
All right, such a wonderful time indeed to, of course, bring you the latest and trending gist in the world of sport. Before we head straight to Europe, let's start from the home scene, because the African Cup of Nations is getting heated, and there are some results that came through in a match that involved Morocco and, of course, Tanzania yesterday. It was a hard-fought victory as Morocco battled through to edge past Tanzania in a thrilling encounter. Despite the home crowd, Tanzania held their own, and Morocco had to dig deep to ensure that they cross the next stage of the African Cup of Nations at the front of their home crowd yesterday. Palebo, I know you kept your eyes glued to that particular encounter yesterday between the hosts, Morocco, and of course Tanzania. What do you make of that game, and how do you see Morocco going this far after struggling to beat the Tanzania side?
Yes, it was a good one, for Morocco. They controlled most of the game. They had possession, but they had one problem, which was finishing chances. They were quite wasteful in front of goal. But that Brahim Diaz, goal, the 64th minute goal from Brahim Diaz, and the wonderful assist from Hakraf Hakimi, proved enough sufficient, to help Morocco go into the next stages of the competition. So I mean, it's a good one for Morocco, but they should work on their goal scoring problems, because I mean, when you come up against these big teams and bigger names, their next opponent, Cameroon, you don't get to miss those chances, because your opponents to are very high scoring side. So I mean, there needs to be improvement from this Moroccan side. They've not really been impressive for me going into this tournament. I mean, you look at the games, they've struggled, to finish up the games, having, just little margins, between both teams. So it has been a problem for Morocco in this competition. But hopefully, going into the next stage of the competition, they are able to work on those issues they have.
Hopefully, Morocco can work on the issues that they have. You still talk about working on issues. Is it not, something that is worrisome? Morocco, don't forget, they are the hosts, playing in front of the 12th man, which is the crowd. They failed to get maximum points during the group stage, all right? And now, against a team like Tanzania, one should expect Morocco to get a convincing result against a team like Tanzania with the home crowd out there. But then, they just managed to win 1-0. How far do you see them going? Because their next game will be against Indomitable Lions of Cameroon.
I mean, you're going up against a team like Cameroon that has come into this tournament, pushing every controversy, behind them, looking very positive and looking at how the players have been able to play and how attacking-minded the Cameroonian team has been. You expect it to be a very big fixture for Morocco. If Morocco is not able to sharpen, their attack, they still have those key players. One thing is key for them, the Moroccan side, is they have those players, who can spark up those individual brilliance, especially when they are not playing so well. So if they really want to come up against a team like Cameroon, to get the victory, they must sharpen their attack. You look at the midfield and the defense, they have control in games, but the biggest problem they have had, is scoring those goals. So if they are able to sharpen their attack, work on their goal scoring problem, it's going to be difficult, to defeat this Moroccan side. So it all depends on how they're able to work on, the deficiency they have in attack for me.
Still talking about working on deficiency, do you see them working on that deficiency before the game against Cameroon? Because this Cameroon side, you saw how dogged they were against the defending champion, talking about Ivory Coast, and then they passed through the next round to beating South Africa to get to this point. Do you see Morocco working on some of those deficiencies right in time before they face the Indomitable Lions?
Yes, you look at Morocco and the players are hungry, for the result, and also looking at it as a team that has, not won the AFCON in over 30 years. They really want to win it, and with the key players they have, the hunger to win it, especially, in front of their fans. So they will do whatever it takes, especially if it has to do with them working on themselves. The coach has seen the problem they have, and I'm sure they've identified it, and going into the next stage of the competition, and they are planning, and they are working too hard, to get the better of themselves, to just sharpen their attacking edge, especially in the last in the 18-yard box, to get the decision making right. Especially one man has been fantastic for them. One man has been their saving grace. I'm talking about Brahim Diaz. So the question is, what if Brahim Diaz is not able to perform? What if Brahim Diaz is not up to the task? What is going to be the fate of this Moroccan side? But we hope to see them, work on themselves, because if we see them, improve on their attack, we have one hell of a fixture going into the quarterfinal stages. If we see a Moroccan side who is up to their best, and also a Cameroonian side that is also firing on all cylinders, it's going to be one of those fixtures, that will keep fans, at the edge of their seats.
All right, we see what comes up in that particular encounter, but I can tell you one thing is certain, that is going to be a blockbuster clash, as Morocco, the host, will be up against one of the strong side in this ongoing African Cup of Nations, talking about the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon. The second game was between South Africa and this very Cameroon that we are talking about, and of course Cameroon edged past South Africa 2-1 to set up a mouth-watering clash against the host Morocco. Before then, some say that South Africa is a very good side, based on the fact that bulk of their players were drawn from the local league out there. So because of that, they say the synergy, the chemistry and the understanding from this player is going to go a whole long way to nullify any fiery darts coming in from the Cameroonian side. But that didn't work out that way yesterday.
Yeah, it wasn't a good one, it wasn't a good evening for the South African team. You look at how they've been able to play coming into this tournament. I must say, like I said earlier in previous editions of this show, I have not been impressed, with the South African team. I said that if they're able to come up against stronger teams, they will find it difficult, and that is what happened yesterday. They came up against a star-studded Cameroonian side that is positive. They have good vibes, and they are currently, one of the best teams currently in Africa. They had problems, with that attack. They had problems, finishing off chances. It was a problem for the South African side. There was a gulf in, quality between these teams, and you cannot take away the quality that European-based players brings into these games. You look at this Cameroonian side, they had 2 well-timed goals, a game before the break, before the halftime, and a goal after the halftime. And so you look at this Cameroonian side, I was impressed with the play. The likes of Kofani and Bemu, these players were able to give their all and help Cameroon and get the victory against this well-organized and a well-disciplined South African side. They were able to get a goal, later in the game, around the 86th minute, but that was a little too late for them to get back in the game. So it's an unfortunate one for South Africa. They are one of the favorites going into this tournament. Hugo Bruce, the coach, has been able to impact this team. We've seen a surgical rise, in how South Africa has been able to compete. But it's a sad one for them, pairing them with Cameroon, early on in this competition, we knew that one of them had to go home, and unfortunately, it had to be the Bafana of South Africa.
All right, this Cameroonian side, Palebo, seems to be growing in leaps and bounds in every game that I've played in the African Cup of Nations for, the current campaign. Not too many expected them to be performing this nice because of, the controversy building up to the African Cup of Nations. In fact, the failure not to qualify for the World Cup was another thing. Then again, you talk about key members of the team, the likes of Abubakar, the likes of Andre Onana were also excluded in the team. And there was some sort of infighting between the players at some point. Then again, the FA president, led by Samuel Eto'o, was also maybe in disagreement with the president of the side, Paul Biya, who appointed McBrien out of the knowledge or call it acceptance of the president, talking about Eto'o, and he came in, he let the man go and brought a new person. There was a whole lot of controversy surrounding this Cameroonian side, in this African Cup of Nations before they headed there. But then they seem to have found a way to, of course, jettison themselves away from those, trouble that encumber them about. Now, they seem to be one of the favorites, taking a look at the way they are playing.
Yes, you look at the coach of this Cameroonian side, talking about David Pago. He has been one of those coaches who has been loyal, to the Cameroonian FA. Fekafut. He's had the support of Samuel Eto'o, even ever since he was the assistant coach of Mark Bryce. So you look at David Pago and how he has been able to, the players will tell you he has a very humble personality, being able to learn from experienced players. And we've seen how he has been able to get balance in this team, removing the noise. Talking about players like Toko Ekambi, Vincent Abubakar, Andre Onana, these players, they've had a lot of controversies in recent years, and he has been able to cut the noise out of the team. And we are seeing a team that is well organized. The unity in the team is strong, and they've mixed experience, with youthfulness, and it has been able to give that balance in the team. So David Pago, is someone who has been able to steady the ship for the Cameroonian team. So it's a good one that Cameroon, have been able to get that coach. For several years they've been struggling. They appointed Rigobert Song, and at some point, he was removed, and Marco Bryce was brought into the side, but he was not able to steady the ship. But you know, it's a good one that seeing David Pago, you know, being able to steady the ship for this Cameroonian side. He has found a way, you know, to bridge the gap, you know, between these youthful players, between these home-based players and the experienced players in the squad, and has been able to fire on, you know, for this team. So having a coach like David Pago who has been able to find that balance, you know, is a good one for this Cameroonian team.
Great one for the Cameroonian team because of the coach who has been able to find a way to galvanize the team and is tinkering them to a place of El Dorado. Can this be the year for the indomitable Lions to win the African Cup of Nations yet again? Just wait and see. Their next encounter is going to be the host, Morocco, and it promises to be a massive showdown between Morocco and, of course, Cameroon. But tonight, there is a game that is currently ongoing. We'll do well to, you know, survey the result of that game before we leave the building. It is between Egypt and Benin Republic. But the big one tonight, Palebo, is about the Super Eagles. They will be locking horns against Mozambique by 8 p.m. Tonight. First off, the Super Eagles, what is your assessment so far in the games that have played during the course of the group stage?
You know, Nigeria entered into the round of 16 stage, you know, with a 100% record, you know, winning all 3 games, you know, 3 out of 3, and, you know, scoring 8 goals, you know, conceding 4 goals, and, you know, they've showed that attacking depth and creativity, you know, goal scoring from each department of the team. I mean, the likes of Ademola Lookman, Victor Osimhen, Dele Bashiru, Samuel Chukwueze, Paul Onwachu, Iwobi. These players have been able to, you know, create chances and also get the goals for Super Eagles, not leaving out the likes of Rafael Oyedika too. So you look at this Nigerian team, the creativity and the goal scoring, you know, it has peaked. We didn't see this Nigerian team like this in the last AFCON. So coming into this one, you know, despite their strong, you know, offensive record, the defense has been a problem for Nigeria. We've had that defensive vulnerability. So coming into this round of 16, that's going to be a problem, you know, for this Nigerian side.
Big problem for the Nigerian side, but when you talk about the attack, it is sharpened and they are striking. They are hitting the ball inside the back, at the back of the net. 8 goals scored by the Super Eagles in the 3 games played so far. And Palebo, out of these 8 goals scored, it is more like, you know, division of labor between the midfield, the attack, and of course the defense, just like you pointed out earlier. 8 goals, 4 have come off the boot of the strikers, the likes of Lookman Ademola, Victor Osimhen, Paul Onachu, and 3 was scored by midfielder Rafael Onyedika, and of course Wilfred Ndidi. 1 was scored by Semilogo Ajayi. So if you take a look at it, there seems to be a balance in terms of sharing the responsibility of you know, scoring goals. Will it be the case tonight?
Yes, and we look at this Nigerian side, they have to be wary of this Mozambique team. This Mozambique team, you know, have shown to be defensive. When it comes to defense, they are really organized. You know, they are a very organized team. You know, they are very compact, and the way they play, they are a team that they are an opportunist based side. You know, they wait for the perfect moment to get that goal, and they are very quick when it comes to transition. So it's going to be a problem for this Nigerian side, especially when you're coming up against a team, you know, that is organized and defensively. But coming up against an attack like a Nigerian side, especially that is very fluid in attack, they won't have a particular player to hold, and that's going to be a problem for this Mozambique side. So they are going to they have to put in extra effort, you know, and just force this Mozambique side, you know, to come out to play them. If not, it's going to be a problem for Nigeria. But I mean, Nigeria has a lot of players, and looking at how we've been able to score goals in recent matches, is a good one. It's a plus and an advantage for Nigeria. It shows that anybody, the goals can come from anywhere. So I mean, it's a win-win situation. Nigeria has to be able to play a very fluid football, you know, possession based like they've always played, and maybe they force the Mozambique side, you know, to make mistakes.
All right, we'll see how this one pounds out tonight as the Super Eagles will be up against Mozambique. Where do you see the pendulum swinging? Can the Super Eagles continue to build on the fine show that we've seen of them during the course of the group stage? Because the Super Eagles, alongside Algeria, the only 2 teams that, of course, had a maximum 9 points during the course of the group stage matches, and they have scored the highest, you know, 8 goals, conceding for. But tonight they meet, a Mozambican side that are very tricky, that have also been spiked up with a little of financial incentive from the president. We'll go through this when we are back from this short break. There are so many more G's popping up from the world of sport that we need to take you through. We don't want to move an inch on the show this evening because it's a loaded and bumper package. We'll be back very soon. All right, you're welcome back from that short break. Still on to Sport Extraordinary right here on Atlantic Television Network. My name is Emmanuel Michael, and Kingsley Apalebo is still here, and together we are taking you through the happenings in the ever-busy world of sport. Don't forget, we told you that tonight the Super Eagles will be up against Mozambique at the ongoing African Cup of Nations out there. And of course, we told you that the breaking news this afternoon is Ruben Amorim has been sacked by Manchester United early hours of today. We'll do it, of course, go through that as well. But beyond that, Epalebo, just before we went on the break, we were talking about the Super Eagles' chances are how effective, how potent, and later they've been in front of goals. So far in the 3 group stage matches played so far against this Mozambique side. Without any disrespect to Mozambique, but then this should be an easy work for the Super Eagles.
It should be an easy one for the Super Eagles, but the Super Eagles still needs to be cautious. I mean, you look at the players of Mozambique, you know, they have the likes of Renildo in that team. Renildo has been a key player for this Sunderland side that has been very fantastic. And also Katamo, who also plays for Sporting Lisbon in Portugal. And look at how key he has been for the Portuguese side. So look at these players. They have very quick players, experienced players. Also, they have you can't rule away this Mozambique side, but on paper, you look at this Nigerian team. I mean, Mozambique shouldn't be a country that should give Nigeria problems when it comes to the round of 16 stages of competitions like this.
All right, away from that, let's dive straight to the English Premier League and service some of the results that came through over the weekend as Leeds United held Manchester United to 1-1 draw. Yesterday, while Everton were beaten at home by Brentford 4-2. Do you see this one coming? Brentford going to the home of Everton to beat them 4-2.
I mean, Keith Andrews, you know, the coach of Brentford has been fantastic for this side. They are up to 7th on the league table, and you look at how he's been able to steady the ship. He came into that side, I think, last season as the set-piece coach, and after Thomas Frank left to Tottenham, he was the one who took over, and a lot of, you know, there were a lot of doubts on what if this man would be able to perform, and you could see the doubts around the club, but he has been able to, you know, come into this side and has been able to steady the ship and has been able to get them, you know, into the first half of the top half of the table, 7th position. So I mean, he has been fantastic, and David Moyes, you know, has not really been consistent with this Everton team. And you look at key players also out for the African Cup of Nations. The likes of Idrissa Gueye is out representing the Senegalese team. So I mean, that has played a huge role for the drop in the performances for Everton. But other than that, Keith Andrews has been really fantastic, and I think he deserves, you know, all the praises and ovation he has been getting.
Meanwhile, Newcastle United also united at home to disunited Crystal Palace at 2-0, while Tottenham Hotspur were held at home by Sunderland 1-1. Fulham played 2-2 against Liverpool. This is another interesting result. You needed to see the last second to the last goal, when was it Cody Gakpo who scored at 90 minutes, was it? And thought that he has won the game and pulled off his jersey, got a yellow card for that wild celebration. Just a moment later, there was an equalizer, boom, and it ended 2-2. What do you make of that game?
I mean, these are the games that make football more football-is, and what the Premier League is today. I mean, it's not over until it is over. So, I mean, you look at Cody Gakpo, you know, after a defensive blunder from Aronson, he was able to get that one to give Liverpool the lead in that encounter. Very late in the game, 90+4, 2-1. And we saw Harrison Reed, you know, with a fantastic goal. I mean, it was a banger, it was a screamer, and you look at that goal out of nothing. He was able to get that goal for Fulham. So I mean, this was a fantastic point. Looking at it from the perspective of Fulham, they've really struggled this season. So going to Anfield, you know, and getting that crucial 1 point, I mean, was a good one for Fulham.
All right, great point. Ghana away from home from Fulham. All right, rather, Fulham were at home in that particular game. All right, but they played against a very big team such as Liverpool, at a point where Liverpool seems to be running by giving Arsenal what seems to be a soft landing, increasing their point lead to 6 as we speak. But then, away from that, the big story this afternoon is that Ruben Amorim has been sacked by Manchester United after he made that, wild rant shortly after their 1-1 draw against Leeds United, where he refused to accept the portfolio and the toga of a manager. Rather, he said he's a manager, not a coach. Do you think that interview had a lot to say, leading to the sack of Ruben, or you think that he had already known that he was going to be sacked before he went to the media to make that statement?
Yes, I mean, look at Ruben Amorim, and lately, when it comes to the press release and the press statement from Ruben Amorim, he has not been careful with his words. I mean, just a few weeks ago, he was throwing shots at some academic players, talking about the likes of Chido Ubi, Henry Hamas, and so you look at what he has been able to say, and we also heard that he had meeting, with the likes of Berrada, James Wilcox, before the game against Leeds. So it's just like he already knew his fate, and he was looking. So just he was pointing out his frustration. He shows a man who was really frustrated. He needed confidence from the board. I mean, as a coach, when you do not have that confidence from your board, I mean, it's a big problem for you, and you will be frustrated. So coming into a game like that, where you expect the backing of your team if they really want a project, Manchester United and the hierarchy has not been able to show that support for Ruben Amorim. And so also for Ruben Amorim, I mean, there was a clash in his position and his hierarchy, where he stands in the club. I mean, when Manchester United signed Ruben Amorim, they introduced him as the head coach. But in his latest interview before the game against Leeds, he said he is the manager of the side. But Manchester United, has said he's not the manager, he's the head coach, and they've proven that they have the authority over him, and he has been asked out of that Manchester United side.
Now let's try to differentiate this just for the benefit of our viewers. What is the difference between a head coach and a manager of a club side?
Yes, as the manager of the side, you have a huge voice. You have a huge say in how the transfer, is being, managed. The transfer is being managed, and also you are managing the full team. You are in charge of the team. As the head coach, you have the responsibility of coaching the team. You have the responsibility of handing out, the tactical, the tactical knowledge of how things will go on. So you look at Ruben Amorim, and he wants to have that. He wants to have that influence on how the transfers are coming and out of the side. You look at this choice of striker. Ruben Amorim did not want Sesko in that team. We could agree that his first choice of striker, he wanted a proven goal scorer, someone who was experienced, especially in the Premier League. We saw him hinting at Oli Watkins, but the team said differently. The likes of Berrada, James Wilcox, said differently. And for me, I would like to say the owners of this Manchester United side has not shown consistency. I mean, they do not know what they want. We saw them recently, they signed in Daniel Ashworth, to be the sporting director of the side, and not just long after he was sacked. And Jamie Wilcox and Berrada was brought in from Manchester City. And right now, they've sacked a manager that finished 15th, and he lost the Europa League title to a Tottenham side that has not been fantastic. And they backed him in the summer, brought in a lot of players, spent a whole lot of cash, 300 million, bringing in key players for this man. And he has not even gone. This is just half of the season, and they do not have confidence. So it's down to what the board really wants. I mean, if you do not have, you had questions and you had doubts about this man, why support him in the transfer window? Why spend all those money on the transfer and the profile of players he wants? If you will not support him, and be with him. He had clearly made it sure that he had made it clear that he supports a 3-4-3 formation, and he's not going to change the formation whether the team plays good or not. So I mean, they had all the information at hand before spending all those cash, and they went ahead to spend it, and they do not have confidence in him, and hence the decision to sack this man.
Hence the decision to let Ruben Amorim go, and of course he created one unhealthy record for Manchester United, because this is the first time in their Premier League era where Manchester United played 15 straight games without keeping a clean sheet. Not a good record at all. All right, away from that, let's serve you the result that came through in the La Liga. There are some games that went down over the weekend, and of course, Sevilla were beaten at home by Levante 3-0, while Real Madrid whitewashed Real Betis 5-1. Epalebo, Real Madrid, no Kylian Mbappe, no worries.
Yes, that man Gonzalo Garcia. I mean, we saw a glimpse of what he was able to do, in the FIFA Club World Cup. And I'm really surprised, with Xavi Alonso that this man has not gotten, the opportunity. He has not gotten a considerate amount of game time, to prove to build on his performances at the Club World Cup. So I mean, it's a good opportunity for Gonzalo Garcia. He was able to, show why he should be starting, why he should get game time, and Real Betis, getting a result against Barcelona and losing to Real Madrid shows inconsistency on their end. And Xabi Alonso, has shown that yes, after a turbulent last month for him, a couple of months for him, he has been able to steady the ship. And I mean, we've seen a Real Madrid side, that are back on course, to fight for the league, and also we hope to see what they are going to be able to do also in the Champions League.
All right, away from that, Deportivo Alaves played 1-1 against Real Oviedo, while Mallorca were beaten at home by Girona 2-1. Real Sociedad played 1-1 against Atletico Madrid, while in the Italian Serie A, Lazio were beaten at home by Napoli 2-0. Fiorentina got a bet of Cremonese 1-0. Hellas Verona were beaten at home by Torino 3-0, while Inter Milan saw off Bologna 3-1. In the French Ligue 1, Marseille were surprised at home by Nantes because they were beaten 2-0. Brest also beat Auxerre 2-0, while Le Havre beat Angers 2-1. Lorient played 1-1 against Metz, while Paris Saint-Germain also beat Paris FC 2-1. All right, before we leave, I can tell you that Liverpool, they seem to have gotten the services of a teenager. Yes, Ndukwe. Yes, that is the name of the teenager, Ndukwe, promising 3 national cent. Yes, he owns or has a 3 nationality because he was born to a Nigerian father, a German mother, but was born in Australia. So he's eligible to represent these 3 countries. So, but then Liverpool have secured the services of the Australian prodigy as we speak right now. Before we bounce out of the building this evening, Palebo, I want to get your final prediction in the match between the Super Eagles and Mozambique tonight.
To be honest, I do not see the Super Eagles of Nigeria, snatching the win against Mozambique that easy. I mean, if they are really going to win against Mozambique, they are going to fight for that 3 points. So they are going to fight for that win. So I'm seeing it as a slim victory for the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
All right, our sport extraordinaire go to no other person than Gonzalo. Yes, Gonzalo Garcia, because he scored his first